The government of Burkina Faso hereby informs the national and international community that it has decided to sever diplomatic relations with the French Republic effective today, June 26, 2026.
Europe faces a major geopolitical setback as one of its key African allies appears to be walking away from decades of strategic partnership. Burkina Faso appears to have completely cut the cord with Paris, openly branding France as its principal adversary in the region. Burkina Faso has now launched what many see as its fiercest political retaliation yet against President Emmanuel Macron and France. Putin's close African partner has reportedly severed all remaining ties with France while promising to expose what it calls Paris' darkest secrets. Once regarded as one of France's closest partners in West Africa, Burkina Faso has now officially severed all diplomatic ties with its former colonial ruler. The West African nation formally announced the suspension of diplomatic relations with France on June 26. Burkina Faso's military-led government said the decision followed what it described as years of French neo-colonial interference. The ruling junta further accused Paris of indirectly supporting terrorist networks operating inside Burkina Faso. Authorities in Ouagadougou also alleged that France had consistently acted against the country's national interests and sovereignty.
The government of Burkina Faso hereby informs the national and international community that it has decided to sever diplomatic relations with the French Republic effective today, June 26, 2026. This decision follows a thorough assessment of the current state of bilateral relations between Burkina Faso and France. Indeed, the essential conditions for fostering relations based on mutual respect, reciprocal trust, and respect for the principle of non-interference in internal affairs and national sovereignty are no longer met. This situation is reflected, among other things, in the relentless efforts by the current French regime to undermine the interests of Burkina Faso.
France's foreign ministry swiftly rejected the move, calling Burkina Faso's accusations hostile, baseless, and completely unfounded. On June 27, Paris also confirmed it had begun closely monitoring the safety of French officials and citizens residing in Burkina Faso. France's foreign ministry said, and I quote, "French authorities have taken note of the unilateral decision by Burkina Faso to sever its diplomatic relations with France. France strongly rejects the decision as well as the unfounded and deeply worrying accusations made against it by the Burkina authorities. Appropriate reciprocal measures are under consideration." France reiterates its solidarity with the people of Burkina Faso and recalls the close ties that unite our two peoples. French authorities are paying particular attention to the security of the French state and the French community residing in Burkina Faso. In this specific context, they are calling on French nationals to exercise increased vigilance. End quote. Many residents in Burkina Faso welcomed the government's decision, accusing France of failing to curb terrorism despite years of military involvement.
I welcome this government statement because we have known for some time that relations between our country and France were strained, so the break had already taken place. All that was needed was a statement to inform national and international public opinion of this break. It is beneficial for Burkina Faso because since 2022 or 2023, if my memory serves me right, Burkina Faso has not benefited from French development aid, but that has not stopped Burkina Faso from moving forward in its economic development phase. That didn't stop Burkina from moving forward in its fight against terrorism. So, for me, it's beneficial for Burkina Faso.
For me, it was obvious, following what happened in Parliament, the European Union, and my comrade Captain Ibrahim Traore knows this too. This is a logical consequence. It's only logical that no one would undermine the dignity of the Burkina people without them reacting. But we must recognize that there will be financial consequences because French companies in Burkina will suffer, and Burkina living in France will have to adapt to such a reform.
We are independent. We no longer depend on them. That's the most important thing, and I'm delighted about it. If we'd remained under their rule, the imperialists would have carried on plundering us. This break is a good thing.
The diplomatic rupture comes at a time when France is also facing growing disagreements with fellow NATO allies over Trump's Iran policy. Italy has sharply criticized NATO chief Mark Rutte for suggesting Rome played a role in Trump's military campaign against Iran. Rome was responding to comments made by Rutte on Fox News, where he claimed that nearly 500 U.S. aircraft took off from American bases located in Italy. Rutte further alleged that the flights were conducted in support of what he described as Operation Epic Fury. Italian Defense Minister Guido Crosetto insisted that Rome rejected any requests to use its bases for combat missions. The Ministry of Defense said, and I quote, "In order to avoid unnecessary and specious controversies, the defense reiterates without fear of contradiction that Italy, and the Ministry of Defense, has always operated in full respect of the Constitution, international treaties, parliamentary guidelines, and the agreements that regulate the presence and use of Allied bases on national territory, without authorizing or allowing activities outside of the provisions in force." As already clarified during the briefing to Parliament by the Minister of Defense Guido Crosetto, the government has done exactly what was declared to the chambers. Only activities of a technical and logistical nature, non-kinetic, have been authorized within the framework of the procedures provided for by the existing agreements. Whenever a request arose that fell outside this scope, as is well known, Italy did not grant authorization. End quote. The Italian defense minister further accused the NATO chief of presenting what he called a totally misleading version of events. The Ministry of Defense said, and I quote, "For this reason, it is surprising that the NATO Secretary General, who has nothing to do with Operation Epic Fury, provides a reconstruction that conveys a totally misleading message by confusing the type of authorized flights. A simple check at the source would have sufficed to obtain the true representation of what happened, and happens every day. Italy authorizes exclusively the flights provided for by the treaties, and that totally exclude kinetic activities, as it has always done and as it will continue to do under the current agreements." End quote. The unusually strong rebuttal comes just days after U.S. President Donald Trump accused Italy of offering little support during the Iran conflict. Trump made those remarks on June 20th, following the G7 summit in France, triggering a fresh spat with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni asked over and over for a picture with me during the G7 meeting in France. She is doing poorly in Italy with her level of popularity, possibly because she turned down the United States of America, a country that truly loves and protects Italy, when it came to denying Iran from obtaining or developing a nuclear weapon, but so did NATO for that matter. She wouldn't even let us use Italy's landing strips or runways, a great logistical inconvenience, and this despite the fact the US contributes hundreds of billions of dollars a year to protect Italy and other so-called NATO allies. Now, after the United States defeated Iran militarily, she wants to be friends again in order to get her numbers up. No thanks. Unquote. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni published a sharp retort to Trump's latest claims, adding fuel to the diplomatic firestorm between USA and Italy. Giorgia Meloni said, and I quote, "President Trump, these constant, unprovoked attacks are senseless. As for my popularity, being your friend certainly has not helped it, nor does it depend on my relationship with you. My popularity depends on my ability to defend Italy's national interest, and that is exactly what I have always done. That is also what I did regarding the American military bases in Italy. Their use is governed by agreements that we have always respected, and that cannot be violated as long as I am Prime Minister. Italy remains a sovereign nation. In any case, my popularity is none of your concern. I suggest you focus on yours." End quote. Meloni claps back at Trump over his begging for picture remark, turning a personal jab into a full-blown diplomatic spat. "Neither I, nor Italy, ever beg," Meloni says, slamming Trump's story as a totally invented and disrespectful claim. A rift deepens between the one-time close allies, as Trump's bizarre comments drive a new wedge into US-Italy relations. Italy's foreign minister cancels a planned visit to the United States in direct response to the escalating war of words. The Italian minister says Trump's offensive words do not just insult Meloni, but offend the dignity of all of Italy. The uproar erupted after the American president's controversial public remarks about the Italian prime minister. Trump said, quote, "She's probably happy I talked to her. I didn't have to talk to her. She begged me to take a picture with her. She wanted a picture with me so badly. I wouldn't have taken it, but I felt sorry for her." Unquote.
Well, some things deserve an immediate response. Donald Trump's statements are completely made up. I am frankly astonished. I don't know why the President of the United States behaves like this towards his allies. It is not the first time, moreover. I can only say it is disappointing that he does not show the same determination with the enemies of the West and of the United States, whose leaders he instead treats with far greater indulgence. There is one thing he should remember. Neither I nor Italy ever beg.